Just 1 minute for the recording to start. Who's reading today?
I'm reading, Prabhuji.
Yeah, go ahead, Mate. When you're ready, you can start, Mate.
Okay, sure, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna to all dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrutyam Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 13, the behavior of a perfect son. From the text 1. Text 1. Sri Narada Muni said, a person able to cultivate the spiritual knowledge should renounce all the material connection and mercifully keeping the body inhabitable. He should travel from one place to another, passing only one night in each village. In this way, without dependence in regard to the needs of the body, the sannyasi should travel all over the world. Text 2. A person in the renounced order of a life may try to avoid even a dress to cover himself. If he wears anything at all, it should be only a linen cloth. And when there is no necessity, a sannyasi should not even accept a danda. A sannyasi should avoid carrying anything but a danda and kamandala. Text 3. A sannyasi completely satisfied in the self will live on the alms begging from door to door, not being dependent on any person or any place. He should always be a friendly well wisher to all the living beings and be a peaceful and alloyed devotee of Narayan. In this way, he should move from one place to another. Text 4. A sannyasi should always try to see the Supreme pervading everything and see everything, including this universe, resting on the Supreme. Text 5. During unconsciousness and the consciousness, and between the two, he should try to understand the self and be fully situated in the self. In this way, he should realize that the conditional and the liberated stages of the life are only illusionary and not actually factual. With such a higher understanding, he should see only the absolute truth pervading everything. Text 6. Since the material body is sure to be vanquished and the duration of one's life is not fixed, neither death nor life is to be the praised. Rather, one should observe the eternal time factor in which the living entity manifests himself and disappear. Text 7. Literature is a useless waste of time. In other words, literature without the spiritual benefit should be rejected. One should not mm, become a professional teacher as a means of earning one's livelihood, nor should one indulge in arguments and counter arguments, nor should one take the shelter of any cause of the faction. Text 8. A sannyasi must not present uh, al- allurements of the material benefits to gather many disciples, nor should he unnecessarily read many books or give discourse as a means of the livelihood. He must never accept to increase the material opulence unnecessarily. Text 9. A peaceful equiposed person who is factually advanced in the spiritual consciousness does not need to accept the symbols of a sannyasi, such as the Tridanda and Kamandalu. According to the necessity, he must sometimes accept those symbols and sometimes reject them. Text 10. Although a saintly person may not expose himself to the vision of the human society. By his behavior, his purpose is disclosed. To human society, he should present himself like a restless child. And although he is the greatest thoughtful author, he should present himself like a dumb man. Text 11 has a historical example of this. Learned sages recite the story of an ancient discussion between Prahlad Maharaj and a great saintly person who was feeding himself like a python. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you very much, Radharani Mataji, for reading the translation today. Yeah, thank you, Sundran Prabhu. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaaya Cha Nandagopakumaraaya Govindaya Namaha Vaidyavyam Siksham Purusha Pranam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Sarirdari Krupambadirtamaham Prapadye Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Makam karoti vachalam pangum langete girim yatkrupa tamaham vande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Shri Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So today we are seeing this brand new section where Narada Muni is explaining about sannyasi, ashram, and also Avaduta, who's even advanced than sannyasi. He is explaining these two very elevated personalities in the four ashramas. So, in the previous chapter, Narada Muni was explaining about how a brahmachari lives his life, what are his activities, how does he serve the spiritual master, and then the ideal brahmachari, and then he explained about ideal grahastha, how ideal grahastha should lead his life, what are his activities, and then vanaprastha, after grahastha life, one who has fulfilled his family duties, he takes into vanaprastha ashram, where he is fully involved in transcending the material activities and trying to fully focus on the transcendental, uh, basically to re-establish the relationship with the Supreme Lord. He has to give up this uh, body in this life, so he has to prepare for this spiritually and materially. Vanaprastha is how he has to dress. It even says that the vanaprastha should dress like a color of the fire. So every detail has been mentioned. And now finally in this chapter, Narada Muni is explaining about how a sannyasi, what kind of activities a sannyasi should adopt, and how he should lead his life. And then eventually Narada Muni is explaining about Avaduta. So Avaduta is we call as Babaji, Avaduta. So they are basically completely advanced, and their only focus is to just please Krishna and engage in the service of Krishna. They don't come into the varna ashramas, in any of the ashramas, so they have no regulative principles to follow. So the Avaduta is completely apart from the ashrama, varna and ashrama. So starting from the verse number 1, we'll just see what Narada Muni is saying here. So here Narada Muni is starting with the verse. He says that kalpas evam parivrajya deha matra vasheshitaha. So only the renounced order of life, sannyasa, he's just he's only traveling. He's traveling from parivrajya, means he's traveling, understanding his spiritual identity and from one place to another. And deha matra avasheshitaha. So he's just only dependent, only just taking care of the needs, without depending anything on the needs of the body. So generally, if you have to take care of the body, then you have to stay in the home. You have to care for his comfort. So he's not caring for the comfort of his body. There is no dependence on the comfort of his body or needs of the body. He's simply just thinking that I'm spirit soul, and Krishna is going to take care of me. He's fully dependent on Krishna, and he's traveling from every village to village. So, and it says that Eka Ratra, like only one night, he's supposed to stay in one village, and then next day they're supposed to move on to the next village. So this, whatever we are reading here, this is like the principles of sannyasi. So the sannyasi ashram itself does not exist in Kali Yuga. So it's because of this rigid principles. Kali Yuga does not support some of these aspects of traveling. So people cannot travel without footwear. It's Kali Yuga. A lot of things are not possible. So that's why practically all of these principles we should just keep in mind that these are sannyasis they were following in other yugas, but in the Kali Yuga, Vaishnava sannyasis are totally different. They are only meant for pleasing Krishna and preaching Krishna. Wherever there is opportunity to preach Krishna consciousness, they will just take up that opportunity. So as we go through these verses, we just have to keep that in mind. These are ideal sannyasi. They used to follow these principles in the other yugas. Even now, some of these principles, there are some sannyasis in India, Bharatvarsha and other places, they were able to follow some of these principles, but they cannot because of the Kali Yuga's prabhava. So it is said that a sannyasi, how to dress also, Narada Muni is giving guidance. These are the principles. So they normally does not take any external, only a loin cloth is used in a very minimal clothing, and there is no. Sometimes they accept danda and kamandalu. So danda is like a stick, which generally for the Vaishnava Sampradaya there is three danda. They call three danda. So we just surrender to the Supreme Lord with words, mind, and body. Deeds. So karmana, manasa, vacha. So all those three things they were supposed to completely dedicate in the service of the Lord. So that's what that tridanda signifies. And then the kamandalu, they use it, the water, for certain purposes during the day-to-day life. And also the kamandala has a lot of significance, and in spirituality we can see sometimes whenever there is charity accepted, charity given, they actually use that water as a means of accepting and giving. So there are a lot of other significance, on the Kamandala as well. And then Narada Muni is also explaining about uh, how does a sannyasi live. He has to eat. He has to eat. So how does he get food? That also Narada Muni is explaining. So he basically goes door to door and begs alms, and then he just, without depending on any place, any person, he just becomes very friendly. Sarva Bhuta Suhurut. So Sarva Bhuta Suhurut means all living entities, not only human beings, all living entities, he is very friendly. So this word Suhurut is used for Krishna normally, is the best friend. So Krishna is the well-wisher of all living entities, is a best friend. So he thinks of their welfare even without even they thinking of him. So that is the person Suhurut. So here a sannyasi is supposed to be like a well-wisher of all living entities. So when Srila Prabhupada used to write letters, on the signature he used to write, your ever well-wisher. So he used to write ever well-wisher, meaning at any point of time he is not going to get dissatisfied with you. Always he is looking after your well-being. So that is the position of a sannyasi. So his only aim is to not take anything, just to give you a spiritual consciousness so that you can again connect your, re-establish your relationship with Krishna, and engage in service of Krishna, which is going to give you that contentment, satisfaction, happiness, and bliss that we are hankering after. So that is the position of a sannyasi. And Narayana Parayanaha. So this is a word again used in this word. Santaha. So Santa is very peaceful. The sannyasi is very peaceful, is a friend of all living entities. And Narayana Parayanaha is a dependent on Lord Narayana, and he is Narayana's devotee. So that is the position of a sannyasi. So you can understand in Kali Yuga, we cannot beg door to door, because in some of the world, in India it's possible, only in some places. In metropolitan cities it's not possible, maybe possible in villages. So Kali Yuga, even in towns and villages, still in India, a sannyasi comes, they are very respected. They will honor, they'll give all kinds of services. But other countries, you cannot expect any alms, so they will even actually call police. So we don't have in Kali Yuga, so spiritual people does not understand the Vedic culture. The other parts of the world, they don't have an understanding. So that's why this kind of a sannyasi activities are not possible in, especially in Kali Yuga. So and then Narada Muni is going on explaining about how does the sannyasi see, what is his vision. So when sannyasi sees pashed atmani ado vishvam pare sad ashato avavyas avyave atmanam cha param brahma sarvatra sad ashanmaye. So when he sees the Supreme Lord, Absolute Truth, he sees the Supreme Lord everywhere, and he sees that the Lord is basically the Parabrahma, the Lord, Supreme Lord, is spread everywhere. He is the cause and effect. He is all pervading. So Krishna also says, Maya tadamidam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina in Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna is everywhere. He's not only in the temple. In the temple, he's giving his beautiful darshan in the Shyamashundra form, Radha Madhava form. We can cherish his beauty, and he's also present in every nook and corner of his existence. So sannyasi has such a kind of a vision. So he relishes in the temple doing service to the Lord, and when he goes out for preaching, he sees the Lord everywhere by his vision. So and then Narada Muni is now saying that sannyasi, he has this understanding that Lord is pervading everywhere. He is absolute truth, and without the Lord's presence, everything is actually of no use. So he has that complete understanding. So in truth. So that's why here on verse it says that Supti means this unconscious state, and Prabodaya Sandau. So Sandau means in between Supti and Prabodaya. So in between consciousness and unconsciousness, a sannyasi, Atmano Gatim Atmadruk, a sannyasi is able to see that only Lord alone is actually existing. There is no other existence. So this is a very higher vision that a sannyasi was able to have that kind of a vision. So, so with this kind of a vision, sannyasi is protected by Lord's internal potency. Like one time Prabhupada used to say that one should not accept sannyasa if he cannot see the Lord's protection. He cannot see Lord protection in every. If he is feeling alone, then he cannot take sannyasi. That's what Prabhupada said. So sometimes you have to travel alone. You are like, like when Prabhupada came to America, United States, he was all alone staying, and still he was not feeling alone. He was feeling the protection of the Lord all the time. So such should be the position of a sannyasi. He's in such elevated consciousness. He's always in the internal potency of the Lord. So no external energy can disturb him. So even when Prabhupada is staying in the Bowery of New York City, he wasn't being agitated by all those problems. He was completely feeling that Lord is with him. So maya tadamidam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina matstani sarvabhutani nyaham tesho avashtitaha. So the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita also that my unmanifested form, his entire universe is perverted. All beings in me and I am not in them. So the Lord Krishna says that basically he is the basis of the whole creation. So and then Narada Muni goes on to explain that how that sannyasi is completely understanding that he is this body is completely is going to be vanquished, and he does not actually have any displeasure in either in life or in death. So he does not see life as beautiful and death is bad, or death is beautiful, life is bad. So he does not have any kind of he just sees that eternal time factor, how everything is in the eternal time factor, that all living entities, they just manifest and then unmanifest, manifest and unmanifest. Like in Bhagavad Gita, it says, Bhutva Bhutva Praliyate. So the Lord Brahmaji, when he creates, the manifestation happens and then the dissolution happens, the whole thing unmanifests. The sannyasi is supposed to have this understanding that within this eternal time factor, how the living entity is taking on a material body and then disappearing. So this temporary thing is going on and on. So like Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Janani, Jatare Sayanam, Iha Samsare Bahudustare, Krupaya Pare Pahumurare. So in Shankaracharya, he is also saying the same message, that Krupaya Pare Pahi Murare. Like, so one has to come to the shelter of the Supreme Lord Murari, like Krishna, and then take shelter. That way we can overcome this cycle of samsara chakra, cycle of birth and death, the temporary existence and then manifestation and unmanifestation. So and then in this connection, Prabhupada is quoting Bhaktivinoda Thakur's bhajan in Gitavali. He's saying, Anadi karma phale padi bhavanar navajale thari bare na dekhi upaya. So he's saying that in the activities of eternal time, there is a cause of which is the cause of birth and death. So before the creation of the living entities, basically are under the influence of this time factor, and they are actually coming into existence and again being annihilated. So now sannyasi should have this understanding. So and also what kind of literature the sannyasi reads, that also Narada Muni is explaining here, and he's saying a sannyasi does not you read any literatures which are associated with the worldly articles, news. There are so many political and then social. There are sports, movies. There's so many articles in the material world. A sannyasi is not interested in wasting his time in the literature without any spiritual benefit. So if there is spiritual benefit, a sannyasi would read those literatures. And also sannyasi, it is mentioned here that he does not make a livelihood by accepting some money for teaching. That's not a livelihood for sannyasi. So if you take a Brahmana can teach patana, like he can actually read Vedic scriptures, he can open a school, he can actually have students, he can take money, because a Brahmana is a grahastha. A sannyasi is not a grahastha. Sannyasi is completely dedicating his life for spiritual benefit. So there is no scope of accepting any money. So the only the sannyasis in ISKCON, Vaishnava sannyasis, they accept money or anything given for the propagation of Krishna consciousness, not for themselves. They use it for Krishna's service. And in ideal sannyasi, even like in those days, the sannyasis, that is not accept, that's prohibited. Like now the sannyasis we see, they are Vaishnava sannyasis. They are in the propagation of Krishna consciousness. They use it in Krishna consciousness. So in those days, if you see And Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, they were actually worshipping Madan Mohan deities. They were not actually endeavoring to construct a temple. But when a wealthy person came, he said he is going to offer donation. Then they said, okay, construct a temple for my Radha Madan Mohanji. So that was the request. He doesn't want anything for himself. If something is coming, then he will offer it to the service of Krishna. So that was the message that Narada Muni is saying. And and also the another aspect is given that a sannyasi does not take any kind of arguments or counter arguments. He does not go in like other spiritual teachers, and then he does not sit and then have a professional argument. All that is prohibited. So even in the case of Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami, one time there was one professional Sanskrit scholar. He came and he was actually challenging Rupa Goswami. And then Jiva Goswami got upset because Rupa Goswami was his actually spiritual teacher. And then he said, I will actually challenge with you. And then he defeated him. But later on, Rupa Goswami actually become upset with Jiva Goswami that you're wasting your time by challenging with him. What is the use of challenging with him? We would rather would rather cherish Krishna consciousness. We are wasting our time. So that is the consciousness of these elevated personalities. They don't like to unnecessarily waste their time in any arguments. So, and then Narada Muni is explaining that a sannyasi is not supposed to gather more disciples and then in the giving them some special material benefits. Like, we can see that in the material world, there are many Babajis who will show gold, who will try to manifest some tricks, some magic. So that way they want to gather more disciples, and they will give some ailments so that they can cure diseases. They will give some spell, some secret mantras that will improve your material posture. So all that is basically to attract more disciples. That is completely prohibited as a sannyasi. So we can see all this happening in Kali Yuga. uh, and then a sannyasi is completely equipoised. So it is said, Mahatmanaha Santasya Samachittasya Bibrayat Uta Va Tyajet. So he is Mahatmanasya, like he's sometimes, the Tridanda and Kamandalu, he may not even accept. So if he doesn't even have to accept the symbols of sannyasi, but he's peaceful and very equipoised and advanced in spiritual consciousness. So here it is mentioned that the symptoms of a Babaji or the Avaduta. So above sannyasi, one is completely spiritual consciousness, and he's actually, he does not come under the principles of sannyasi anymore. So that person is completely equipoised and he is always in advanced in spiritual consciousness. So like Prabhupada is explaining here about, there are four kinds of sannyasis: Kutichaka, Bahudaka, Parivrajakacarya, and Paramahamsa. So the Vaishnava sannyasis, they are supposed to be in the Paramahamsa stage. They travel from one place to another. They preach Krishna consciousness, and sometimes they go to Western world, like Gulf countries. They don't even wear any sannyasi dress. They take off the sannyasi dress. They go in like a mufti disguise, but their only purpose is to preach Krishna consciousness, spread the glories of Krishna. So for that purpose, they don't follow any rules and regulations, meaning the sannyasi ashrama's rules. So those are all Vaishnava sannyasis, are supposed to be in a Paramahamsa stage. They are called Babajis. So in ISKCON, such elevated Vaishnava sannyasis are Prabhupada disciples. They risk everything for the purpose of preaching Krishna consciousness. So very, very elevated. We are very fortunate to actually even witness such advanced preaching. Sometimes even the Sri Vaishnavas, Madhvacharya, Sampradaya, they appreciate ISKCON sannyasis very much on that aspect of preaching. So they don't actually without any bodily comforts. They travel one place to another place. They go on preaching, and they make lots of devotees, who are really interested in understanding about Krishna and leading a spiritual life. It's not really easy. So that's why even the other sampradayas, they very much appreciate what ISKCON acharyas are doing. So, and then Narada Muni is now explaining about how sometimes the sannyasis, they try to disguise themselves. Just like in the case of Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, not the guru of Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj. So he was basically trying to hide himself, because a lot of people will come. They will ask for material benefits. They will ask for some blessings. So unnecessarily disturb. So sometimes sannyasi will disguise. He will just act like a restless child. He will just sometimes acts like a dumb person. All this is to protect his purity and without getting disturbed by other people. So sometimes, so you can see if you go to Vrindavan, there are many elevated sannyasis. They will be in disguise. So then finally, the last verse for today. So now Narada Muni is going to explain about this avaduta. Avaduta meaning, like I mentioned, he's above sannyasi. He's not following any rules and regulations of sannyasi, but he's spiritually very elevated, and he's also very completely absorbed in Krishna, that his only purpose is to please Krishna and engage himself in service of Krishna. So for that purpose, he'll be in doing many sorts of activities that which a normal person cannot understand. So we might think he's doing some material activities, or sometimes we might think he's very elevated, but he's not under our judgment. Our judgment cannot penetrate him, because he's completely spiritual and very elevated. So now Narada Muni is going to explain a historical narration where Prahlad Maharaj was witnessing this person, and he's in a one spiritual elevated. He's following one path called Ajagara Vritti. So that is going to be explained in the verse number 12 onwards, so which you will hear tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vranda ki jai, Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Vancha kalpatrubhyasya kripa sindhubhye vachaha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, devotees.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Wonderful lecture.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.